30. There we go. It's Wednesday, subwed once again. And the mystery for today is, will I get anything done? Maybe, I'm going to try. I'll try to do some things. Yeah, I'm pretty tired this morning. So we're going to have slow chatting about miscellaneous things and careful working on sub stuff that needs to get done in order to finish this section. So yeah, let's get started. I have an upgrade. Yep, an upgrade today. I did a little bit of prep work, not nearly as much as I should have, but here it is. This is a really crummy piece of cardboard. It's all bendy and flat and, doesn't lay flat, that kind of thing. Might have to keep it because it has names on it of things people paid, but this is going away. Yeah. And I've got a new one. Look at that. That's my upgrade in the workshop here. It's a nice clean piece of cardboard. It's sturdy, so it lays flat. And some sort of barcode on the other side, but I suppose I could use the other side once this gets all messy. But there it was. That was pretty exciting. This is a extremely high-tech, very expensive studio, as you can see, because cardboard. Well, what I'm working on today is the continuation of the control deck, and the accomplishments last week were to get the inside of the hull painted the correct colors for each of the compartments that eventually will fit into the hull. And I painted the floor, and what I need to do early on is the floor has these control panels on it, and those need to be painted gray. And the inside of the hull, you can't see it on here, but you will in a minute when I show you the real hull. It actually also has control panels, and those need to be painted gray, and then the detail needs to be filled in. So trying to be somewhat efficient, I'm going to paint those first. Especially the ones in the hull, because in order to paint the detail, the gray paint needs to dry. So if I paint the gray first, then it will eventually dry and I can get the rest of that done. The other thing that I accomplished, and this was actually a big deal, as you might recall, the tubes, these things, the tubes into which the periscopes and radar antenna fit, were not the correct length. And so I was actually able to measure and put them to the right length. And then I tested them, and they fit just right. But the problem was that the periscopes and radar antenna don't go down far enough into them. I could see that they were, as you can see, sealed on the bottom. And that made sense because they go into this like that. Okay, they just set in there like that. So it made sense that they were sealed on the bottom. But the problem is that they're sealed way too far, and so the periscopes didn't go all the way down into their little receptacles in the hull. So I found a drill, a drill bit that is exactly the diameter of the hole. And I am going to get out my little drill handle and attempt. This is supposed to be a good high-speed drill that will drill through wood and stuff. It should go through plastic. So anyway, I'm going to spend some time drilling these out, and it's so you can see it's like 1/4 of an inch, right? I mean, it's a long way to go. So anyway, I'll do that a little bit later. That should be really boring to watch. And so I'll try to think of something to talk about. I got the floor painted. There's 2 coats on this, and it looks pretty close. I think if you looked at it from the side, and you're going to be viewing it this way, okay, pretty much on edge like that, that it might be okay. I'm not real anxious to put more paint on it, because the more paint that goes on it, the more these little slots and things get filled in. And if I eventually, and maybe even today, I don't know, if I accomplish something, I might be able to do something like starting to install, things like that. I mean, we might actually see the cementing in of the parts that go onto this deck, and that would be pretty something. See, they go on like that, and then you look at them edgewise. The thing about that is I want to get those in, and then just like the mess deck, okay, this one here, the bottom shows when you look at it, and you can tell that you're just gonna see all these slots and things. So I want to cement these in and then fill in. I'm going to fill in the holes. Oh, okay. I will need to do some painting just around the top of the stairwell here. Usually the paint just gets way too far, but this time it didn't. And you can look at it, when you look at it from the bottom, it's not done. Anyway, yeah, so the first thing I really should do, though, is paint this little control panel here and this one here. Those get painted gray. And then if we look on the inside of the hull, you can see the compartments. Okay, the ballast tank, and the bunk room, and the galley, and the servo room, and the control room, and the officer's quarter, and the head. And these control panels, there's lots of them. Need to be painted gray, and then the detail needs to be highlighted, probably with a felt tip pen. And I really don't like doing that first thing in the morning because shaky hand and all of that, but it is something that just absolutely has to happen. 2-stage process of painting the panels and then painting the detail, and I can't get the second stage done until the first one's done. So where is Who asking for a flip? No, so these are the periscope and radio antenna things I was talking about. If you look, there's these like indentations in the top, and they're supposed to go down into them. Okay, so that when you're running underwater, they're not creating turbulence. But that's why those tubes need to be made longer. I mean, the holes in the tubes. Otherwise, it's coming along. I guess I can, in all honesty, say that I am getting some things done. Slowly but surely. So, the control panels are painted neutral gray. Let me make sure. Yeah. There they are. Okay. Trying to read my own writing. Stir the paint. This is the relaxing part. It isn't really relaxing painting. What it is it's relaxing not painting. So the relaxing non-painting part is the part that goes pretty well. And then I have to do the painting part, and the relaxation stops. Let's see. I need a topic today. I need a topic for a meandering monologue. Nobody's in chat, so I can't react to them. I've done almost everything. I've done like 60s cartoons. I've done 60s and 70s television theme songs. I've done a whole riff on cathode ray tubes and picture tubes and television repair, and how the advent of cable just totally destroyed the TV antenna industry. You don't think about that. I've done nuclear Armageddon. I'm going to need some help coming up with ideas for a rambling monologue. This thing is big and awkward, okay? So painting these control panels is, I'll use a tiny brush, and it'll go very slowly, but I don't want to have to do a lot of touching up either. So I'm going to put this on. This is my head magnifier, and what it does is not magnify the head, but at least in theory, lets me actually see what I'm doing. I'm going to paint that a different color because it just looks like a weird thing. It's this thing up here looks kind of like a radiator almost. I'm not sure what that's about. Most of these have little like dials and lights and buttons and all sorts of weird detail. Okay, well, since this is supposed to be a painting show, here's some paint. Got paint, and I'll put some on a brush and start sticking it on the submarine and see how it goes. See if I could keep it on camera. Could be using a larger brush for this, but I'm not. Yeah, you can actually kind of staying on screen. That's kind of weird. I don't know what should I monologue about. I really liked monologuing about nuclear Armageddon. That was kind of fun. I could do a repeat, but, I won't. That wouldn't be fair to the... What the heck? Okay, I can complain about this. It's been appliance rebellion week. At the moment, the battery on my clock is dead, and I need to replace that. And I don't know if you heard it, but there was just a really loud squeak in the background. Well, that means that the battery in the smoke detector is dead, or it's about to be. And that wouldn't be such a big deal, but they're up pretty high. And so I have to stand on a little ladder or a stool in order to change them. But the little ladder or the stool is upstairs and not here. You're gonna keep hearing that throughout the stream, at least until break, when I might be able to track down the little step stool. My ladder, 3-step ladder, okay, is somewhere in the house, not here, where I need it. And so I know what I'm gonna be doing on break. I'm going to be finding a little 3-step ladder, and which is somewhere, not here. Yay. Oh, that's really going to be fun. So yes, you're going to keep hearing that until after the break, when hopefully I will find my 3-step ladder and climb up there and replace the battery. And while I'm up there replacing that battery, I'll probably replace the clock battery. And then, if I'm very, very lucky, I'll actually climb down the 3-step ladder without hurting myself. The squeaking noise will stop and the clock will be running. And that's something to look forward to. So I'm going to complain about appliances. They just all decided to break at one time. Well, not at one time. I mean, they spaced themselves out a little bit. We have a dishwasher, and the dishwasher decided that it would be a lot of fun to stop washing dishes and send an error message instead. Sent an error message that basically said, I am no longer going to wash dishes. Repair me, and the error message didn't say this, but it might as well have. And the repair costs will only be half as much as a new dishwasher, and haha, you don't know what I'll break next. That was one appliance that rebelled. And then our cooktop decided that for some reason it would just be great fun. These appliances, you know, they're doing this just for their own entertainment, right? Decided that it didn't really want to have full combustion of the gas that was going into the burner. And I guess it was a good thing that it smelled bad, because, you know, then we detected it. But that was another one of those, if you think you can fix this, you're wrong kind of things. We've seen that. Yep, we're keeping paint's building up on the brush a little bit. But look at that, I've got three little rectangular things. 3 little rectangular things are painted now. I guess I am doing painting. I'm doing sub-wet painting here. Got 2 big ones to do yet. Here and here. The rate this brush is going, this will take forever. That's okay. I'd rather go slowly and not have a mess. I'm sure that, there always is at least one OO during the stream. You get to pick when or what it is, though. But we all know, if you've been watching, that the uh-oh moment is inevitable. The line at the bottom. You have to push the paint up to the edge, not pull it down to the edge. Yeah, here's a good thing about this tiny brush. It not only gives me, pretty decent control of where the paint goes, assuming my hand stays steady, but it takes a long time to paint a surface, and so there's a couple of hours that, nice. There's always that. See what happened? I got not careful. And I had a lot of paint on the brush, too much paint, and I didn't aim it right, and now I need to touch up down at the bottom of that because the paint sucked. Nice, huh? Yeah, that chirping is, in fact, going to be pretty annoying. I suppose we could play some games with it. We could time the interval between one chirp and the next. Okay, that's just not good down there. I'm gonna have to redo that entire line. It's not well defined. So yeah, we could start timing the time between one chirp and the next. That would be something to do. We could see if the interval changes over the span of the stream, at least up until break, when I hope to make it stop. And anyway. I don't know. I mean, if you're really lucky right now, there's sort of a filter on the microphone. That might filter out the chirping noise, in which case you will have no idea what I'm talking about when I complain about the chirp from the smoke detector. That is telling me that the battery is almost dead and needs to be replaced. If it's not filtering it out, then you get to hear it along with me. I hope it's not filtering it out, otherwise you're going to be thinking that I'm just making it up. I'm not. It's tripping. It's annoying. Paint the top of this one. Then when these dry, be coming back and doing something with these controls, these roundy bits. I'm gonna pretend that these roundy bits are dials, and I'm going to try to paint them all white, and that these little dangly bits are like controls, and I'm just going to paint those black. Actually, I'll probably use this fine tip felt pen to darken these rather than try to paint them. And then this up here, there's a color I've been using. It's a dark, really dark blue. I'm using it for radiator covers. I think I'll use it on there just so there's some color variation. I need to get a little light blue to touch up the bottom of this. Not sure if it's going to show its way in the back behind some other things, but just in case I'll need to do that. So I'm going to put this here, and then this is the floor of the control room. These panels are control panels of some sort. They need to be painted this gray as well. The control panel here is facing away, so you won't be able to see the back. This is the front of it, but there's nothing on it. And so this is a really big control panel, and there's nothing there. So I'm gonna make something up, because otherwise it just looks dumb. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'll do with it. Maybe I'll try to paint some sort of screen on it, maybe. Going to be a freehand thing, so it might take a couple of efforts before I get it to look like anything at all. There's a chair that goes in front of it, and if you look at the scale, this is taller than a person by quite a lot. I'm not sure what it was supposed to be, but if it's just plain gray like that, it's not going to look terribly good. Need to try to get the line on the floor looking okay. Too bad. This gray is just really not behaving very well. It's weird. It's almost like it's too thin and too viscous both at the same time, in that it's not covering that well. It's not adhering to the kind of beige colored paint. Larger surfaces with a larger brush, it's always worked well, but today when I want it to, it's not. I need to get this line to work, and it's just so I went too far. I'll have to touch that up with the pinkish beigeish kind of paint. That line is going to show. That one worked. That was good. I have to get that paint out anyway, because there's, as I said, I have to touch up the spot there around the staircase. I don't need to bother the back of this, and I'm not going to, because the back is completely invisible. And this is assembled. You won't be able to see it. These edges are, I always have problems with these, because on one angle they look just fine, and then you rotate it and it doesn't. So usually there's a fair amount of back and forth touching up before it settles down and looks good. Okay, I'll let that gray dry, and then I'll work on the little control things on the hull. Try to come up with something for this big flat area here. I don't know. Maybe I'll put dots on it or something. And then I'll get this color out. And I need to touch up around the staircase. There's some areas here and here. Just little spots that need to be painted over. And then some of the edging along the bottoms of these control panels. I think I got all the gray on that I need to get on. And I'll find that dark blue. There it is. Ooh, you showed up. And you want 6 flips. I will actually give you 6 flips. Sooner than later. Yeah, I'll do those flips first. And then I'll do the darker bluish gray kind of color on that little panel up there. I'm almost tempted to make it red, but that would just splash out way too much. I need to flip something that is not likely to damage anything else. Here we go. It's a tiny piece of Balta. It's not Twitter anymore. There is no Twitter post. There's just an X post. And I think that means that it used to be like in X. Okay, so this is... There's a dot on one side, and there's a not a dot on the other side. Okay. You can see the dot? Yep. There was a not dot. That was a dot. In each. 1, 1. 1 to 2. 1 to 3. 2 to 3. 2 to 4. 2 to 4. Okay, I suppose if I kept flipping this, it would end up being 50-50, but, you know, it's not unusual, and if you do 6 flips, that instead of 3 to 3, that sometimes it would be 4 to 2 or 2 to 4. I know I've hardly been home for like a month, it seems. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And I'm not adjusted to any time zone at all. Just no time zone is working for me at the moment. So yeah, I was, in Germany for a while, visiting our very first grandchild. That was exciting, but also exhausting, jet lag, and basically doing baby care, for a while, and then back for a couple of days, and then off again. So yeah, it does feel like I've been avoiding all of you, and maybe I have. Maybe these trips were really unnecessary, and I was doing them just so I wouldn't have to relax with this painting stuff. Maybe I've been avoiding Submarine Wednesday. I mean, maybe not, but at least, if you look at this tray, which you can't because it's off camera right now, because I have to paint this little grill thing here, this dark blue. I have done a lot of painting, and it's really, really tiny stuff. Just like on this, it's like, okay, painted gray, that's fine. But then there's like these dials on there that are white with hands and things, and round glowy stuff, and buttons, and tiny little buttons that needed to be detailed. So something like this, I mean, for me at least, ends up taking forever. And it felt like forever. And there was another one like that. Sorts of stuff on it. So it goes on and on and on. And then eventually it all gets cemented together, and then the cement spreads out and ruins all of the painting that I took all the time to do. So I have to be careful with that, to not get the cement on everything and messing up all the relaxing paint. Like the inside of this hull, and kind of when this thing is assembled, you'll hardly see any of it. It's way behind everything else. But, if it weren't painted, that's the first thing you would notice, is that, oh, look at that. That should have been done, and it wasn't. How lazy can you get? So I end up spending, the better part of an hour painting little tiny detail of stuff on the inside of the hull that will be largely invisible once the thing is actually ever put together. It will be a huge relief, though. And it won't happen today, but it might happen as early as next week. Maybe as early as next week. Maybe the week after. But sometime fairly soon, all of this stuff will be inserted in there, and I can move on to the missile tubes. This part here. 16 at that time Polaris, because this is the very first ballistic missile launching submarine. Not this, actually. This is just a model. This wasn't a submarine. Those would have been really tiny, useless missiles if this actually was the missile launching submarine. But it's not. You knew that. But to be accurate, this model of the first missile launching submarine had Polaris missiles, which had single warheads, to be replaced later by Poseidons that had multiple warheads, so that instead of just annihilating like a large section of one city, you could annihilate a large section of maybe 3. I think the Poseidon had 3 warheads. I know some later ICBMs would carry like 8. So yeah, let's go here. And that's going to be an interesting thing too. I mean, finding the pieces. Each missile tube in this model consists of 2 halves. It's good to have 2 halves. If you had 1 half, then it wouldn't look like a tube at all. It would look like a trough or a channel. But each one has 2 halves. If they had 3 halves, then I'd be speaking nonsense, because, you can't have 3 halves. Well, I guess you could. I mean, when you add all of these up, I'll have 32 halves. Doesn't matter. This is just primed, so this whole thing gets painted some color. I'm not sure which yet. I have to look at the box top to see what the color. So can you hear that chirping? Or is it getting filtered out? You get the whole thing done, and then there's this one edge. It could just be a simple little brush stroke. One simple stroke of the brush. And the paint's not adhering to the brush right, and it's not coming off. It's one of those things where I keep at it, and I know it's going to go bad. Okay, so the better part of valor is sometimes just stopping when it's adequate, and adequate is enough. Okay. Drop this off, and then I will. Well, I've got nothing on camera there. At least let's put that back so you can see that. So let's see how that gray is coming along. If it's dry enough to paint onto yet or not. If it is, the first things I'm going to work on are going to be the little, what look to be dials. Okay. I want to paint those white. At least that's what I think they are. I don't know what else they would be. There's some sort of gauge. They didn't bother putting, the paint, you can tell the paint's not dry because it has just these different levels of glossiness. So that has to wait a while. Which means that the paint here on these, since I painted them a little bit later, is not dry either. Wait on doing the touching up. What can I do in the meantime? What I can do, well, there's a couple of things I can do while I'm waiting for the paint to dry. I could just sit here and say, we're going to watch paint dry. And that's been done on this show before. Just sitting around waiting for paint to dry. The other thing I can do is start making sure these parts fit so that I can cement them in. And yet another thing I can do is to start drilling out these tubes. Maybe I'll do that. Let me find it. Yeah. Well, okay. I am going to work on the floor, and I know why, because if in the process of clearing these things out, clearing out these openings so that the pieces fit in, if in that process I scratch the surface, I can touch it up. So I'm going to do that. See if one of these little files works. What I want is for these slots to not have paint in them. For two reasons. I want them to fit. Okay, the tabs need to fit into the slots. But I also want some paint-free areas so that the cement adheres. Here. It tilts forward a little bit. Yeah, that one fits pretty well. Like there's just this little spot where the paint rubbed off, or there's some dust on it or something. I can't mess with these too much, otherwise things will just go south. Okay, then there's this one. This is the other large one. Okay, and this one goes here. I test fit all these before, but so if they're not working now, it's because there's paint in the slots, and there's definitely in this one there's quite a lot of paint. especially in the corners. And I expected that because when I was painting the floor, I was trying to get a pretty hefty coat on it so that I covered. And it inevitably gets into these little slots and openings. Gets down into them. And you get a little paint buildup, which is more than enough to keep the slot from fitting. And certainly more than enough that when the cement is on there, it's going to dissolve it and make a mess of it. So I'm going to poke away at this, and you get to watch me relax while I'm waiting for paint to dry, because that's an inevitable part of any kind of painting stream, especially this one, is that sometimes the paint just needs to dry. I can just see some of these others are all really gummed up. I might as well, since I've got the X-Acto knife out, clean these up too, right? Instead of just doing them one at a time. Clean them out and we'll see if they fit when the time comes for that. And if they do, then that was time well spent. And if not, then I'll just have to keep at it until they do. So I'm going to mess with these slots while I'm waiting for the gray paint to dry so that I can, at some point in the future, hopefully near future, begin to paint the detail on the control panels by putting little dials, white dials on them, and black buttons or levers or whatever those things are supposed to be. In the meantime, you get to enjoy the chirping of the battery is needing replacing on the smoke detector sound. I should get a little drill bit to clean those out. You haven't seen the tiny chairs in a long time. Those were painted a long time ago. But they are tiny, tiny little chairs that go into the deck. But it looks like this is coming along kind of okay. And once I get all the parts to fit, once again, and I get the touch-up done, I have to touch up the floor color. Once I get that done, I might yet on this stream, it might happen today, is that much of the stuff that goes onto this deck might in fact be cemented onto the deck. That would be an unprecedented accomplishment. At least unprecedented since all of these parts got cemented onto this deck. Until the sub is complete. Tell you what, I'm going to send you need to go to the internet. I know you can find it. Okay. And look up the USS George Washington. That's what this is. This is the George Washington. And find out how long it took for that submarine to be built. Actually, after these decks are complete, which will be, I'm going to say no more than 2 weeks from now. Okay. If not next week, the week after, I should have these decks installed, and it'll just be a momentous occasion because this whole section then from here forward will be filled with all of this incredible detail. This part should go fairly quickly. It's not much of a painting challenge. There isn't too much detail on it. there's control panels and junction boxes and stuff. The main challenge is going to be getting stuff to fit, because all of those missile tubes need to line up with the decks. And there's like 4 decks through which these things go. And they all need to fit together. And as I have found and you have watched, nothing on this kit fits. The main challenge is going to be, once I find all of the pieces, once I find all 32 halves of the missile tubes, and it won't be a challenge cementing them, but it'll be a challenge sanding and filing them so that all the mold marks and things in the seams don't show, because it's almost certain that the 2 halves don't fit very well together, and that they'll need to be sanded down considerably so that the seams don't show. Because what I found is that they don't line up. Okay. I've got a lot of these slots cleaned out, and then I'll test fit all the parts. And then after I'm done with that, the gray paint should be dry enough so that I can start painting the detail onto the control panels in the hull. I need to find a tiny little drill bit. The teensiest, tiniest little one. See if I can clean up these holes. These are the holes for the chairs. $120 days. Oh, yeah. Well, to be fair, we should only count the days in which I'm actually working and not the days in between. But in total, the total number of days that this is taking, and if you just count from, all the days, not just the ones I'm actually working on it, it'll be longer. He seriously built his entire submarine in like 8 months. That's just absurd. Okay, so I'm going to do some projections here, and I'm going to be wrong. So consider these to be fabrications, okay, and not actual promises or anything like that. Finishing this entire deck and then getting all the pieces to fit into the hull. There is like a 40% chance that I could get that done next week. And there's a 95% chance that I could get it done in 2 weeks from now. And I'm just saying that I should be able to get I should be able to get a whole lot of stuff done today. I should actually be able to get all of the stuff cemented onto here, except for these the tubes into which the periscopes go. I should be able to do that. Okay, doesn't mean I will, but I should. Damn it! there's just little. This is the kind of stuff that ends up taking forever. You can't see it probably, but I can as I'm doing this. Is that and there's places that show just really annoying. Is that there's these little spots that ended up not being covered. That was up with the gray paint here. But they're just obvious enough that they can't be left to stay. I mean, it just can't. And so all of a sudden now I have to spend, I don't have to, I didn't have to do this. Good time touching up tiny little spots that shouldn't need to be touched. Here. See? There. That's why this takes so long. So they probably built this thing. The music stopped again. Okay. I'll push a button and see if it makes any difference. Yeah, there. So they probably built this submarine in 220 days, but I bet it took the better part of another year before they got everything working. Okay. Well, I hope that likes being on the floor because that's where it is now. Yeah, I'm waiting for the gray paint to dry yet. It is not quite done. And I need to touch up the floor. There's spots all over, but I'm going to fit these pieces in first because if they scratch things up or I, somehow need to remove yet more paint, then have that color out. So you can watch, that fits. This one goes here. This one didn't fit before. And it just, oh, okay. That's interesting. There's a little gap underneath there. There's a gap underneath these bits of the control panel. That gets pushed down firmly. Got too much paint in this one. This color, it's weird. It's been sitting here for an entire week and it's still rubbery. I mean, it's not completely dry. Get that. Okay, so those fit. See this bulkhead here. This goes this way. This bulkhead separates this entire control room from the officers' quarters, which are here. That fits. That's good. This is a weird thing. Right here on top of this locker, and it's there and not where you would think in the head or the bathroom is a sink. It's a little stainless steel sink. It actually has two basins on it, and it is supposed to be cemented onto there for a reason. I don't know why. The thing I'm almost certain to forget. I'm scraping off the paint so that it will adhere. So that goes there. This goes back here. I should probably look at the instruction sheet, right? Make sure I'm actually putting things in the right places. Yeah, it's dropped up on the floor. That's good. Um, yeah, that control panel. This control panel goes there, and that fits. So that's good. Then all of these, we'll do this one next. This one goes here, and that separates the officer's quarters from the head or the bathroom. And the bathroom is tiny, tiny, tiny. That's it. That's all you get. That's all there is. And then there's toilets along the wall there, along the bulkhead on the other thing. What I should do, and I might, once these are in place and they're cemented in nicely, is there's that gap here. See it? Between one and the other, there's like a seam. Is what I should do is fill that in with a little, probably just paint. Just paint it in. Maybe I'll do that. I did that in the galley. Scraping the paint here on the top. Hopefully that will fit against the top of the hull without a whole lot of fuss. Yeah, these things need to fit in two places. They need to fit into the surface, and then they need to fit into the hull of the submarine. And I'll test that one after they're put together. But I'll probably, one of those things that I didn't need to do, but I will anyway, is I almost certainly will fill in that space there in the back where this meets that, where these two join each other. But right now those fit. And then what else that we got? We've got the bunk. Just leave this in place. I'm going to leave these bulkheads in place so you can see how they kind of work together. There's a bunch of stuff goes in here, and it all just sort of barely fits. Okay, well, like not at all. So much for that theory. These bunks, there we go. Why didn't it fit with the bulkheads in place? I don't know. So the bunks go there like that. I hope that's just dust. Seriously. I don't know where that spot came from. Now I need to touch that up. What a pain. Okay. I need a tiniest little dot of brown paint on that. Lovely. So that goes there. And then there's these lockers and tables that just kind of arbitrarily fit here. I don't see that they have much purpose really other than blocking access to the bunks. Swear. how it was intended to go. To go this way. Makes more sense. Yeah. So you can see how much fun it is getting these little pieces together. And then one of those tiny little chairs goes there because there's just no room to maneuver, right? You can't move around in this area at all. Not fitting. That is way smaller than the slot. This is why we test fit everything, because oh, okay. This is supposed to go this way, I guess. The chair faces the desk. Well, the bunks will fit if that works there. Let's find out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is good fun trying to get these things to sort of fit together. Sort of. There's a desk here, and there's a chair. And you would think that the chair would line up with the desk, but that's just not, it isn't, that doesn't fit there. It fits this way. Put it in like that, it fits. Yeah, and yeah, they do. I mean, they go in this way, and you have to. Then everything has to kind of stand up, so it's vertical. And hold it for minutes at a time. To hold it in place while the cement sets. Well, that was a lot of fun, but eventually, these things are all supposed to fit in here like this and not wiggle around and not be sideways or not vertical or whatever, like that. And that's what it looks like from the top. When you look at it, when you're going to look at it later, you're going to be looking at it that. That's what you're going to see. As the whole thing fits into the hull and you're just looking at it from the side. That. So the pieces, they all fit. They are ready to be cemented in. All sorts of little chairs go in places along here. I want to put these back on here. Paper towel. Get messed up any more than they need to be. When they need to be messed up some, otherwise we don't have our moments. So all of those pieces fit. Now I'm going to do the this weird color touch up. The floor, touching up the floor on the staircase and around the edges of the control panels. And then I'm going to paint on the gauges and the detail on these control panels inside the hull. How are we doing on time? Okay, going pretty well. Yeah. There. That's done. Find the paint color. This one is supposedly the paint color. Oh, yeah. That. See that? Right there. There is a spot. Why is there a spot there? Really something. It's right in the front. It's going to show horribly. I painted this ages ago. Paint. And that usually means a drip. See if I can take it off. Spot in the bottom. So that was red brown. It should be out here. It's a color that we use all the time. There it is. I need this like the tiniest little dot of it. So I'm not going to bother with a whole lot of vortex spinning. Ugh. Yeah, there was the spot up there, but then as I was fixing that spot, which is now fixed, I discovered another spot that needed to be touched up. This is almost certain to be a mess. Be dealt with at some other time. Why do now what you can put off and complain about later? Yeah, so this whole submarine took 220 days. No, they're not going into place now. They're going to be going into place soon, though. Huh. Good. The music's not starting. Oh, there it goes. Hopefully that's working. No, I might be cementing those in later today if things go well. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. If things go okay, I might cement the stuff into the floor. I mean, that would be kind of nice to have that done, don't you think? Or don't you? It would be like an accomplishment, right? Like something got done. Is to cement those into place without actually messing them up by getting cement all over the place. putting these on, these head magnifiers, almost always leads to disappointment, in the sense that what's left of my vision, I can look at something and say, oh, that looks pretty good. I think that's adequate. That meets the standard of adequately that I aim for. And then I put these on and I look at the same thing and it's, oh God. Everything is less than adequate. That's the downside of head magnifiers. The upside is I can actually see the detail and frequently have enough hand steadiness to pull it off. But the downside is I can see the detail and I can see what needs to be fixed. Like this floor. This floor looked really fine, except under magnification on it. Paint is such a different color before it dries. It looks what is this going to look like? I hope the color changes back to the other the color it should be. That's going to look. That'll look okay. That one looks okay. It's touched up. They look okay. To paint in here a little bit because this is going to show. This is pretty close to the good enough stage. Stop messing with that. And then I get to paint the detail on the control panels inside the hull. Then it looks like, if that's adequately successful, I'll be left with drilling out the periscope tubes the ones I said at the very beginning of the stream. Plugged with, anyway, they need to be drilled out so that the periscopes go down far enough. And then after break, during which I will be replacing batteries. Okay, I'll be replacing dead light, batteries in the smoke detector, batteries in the sonic. So instead of taking a break, I'll be climbing stools and trying not to fall on. But at least that chirping will stop, and the clock will be running again because it's definitely not the correct time. All right, we'll see how this goes. I'm going to be painting tiny little dials, what look like tiny little dials on the fronts of some of these control panels. Probably can barely see them, but they're all these little round things here. And I'm going to say that those are dials. And then there's things here that are going to be, say those are signal lights. And then these are little levers of some sort that just need to be highlighted. And I'll be using a fine-tipped felt point pen to do that. Some of them came out okay. And just different sizes. That's okay. Make sure that they're mostly round. Wait, how did that happen? that, which I need to have a tiny touch of gray paint on that to fix it. That came out mostly okay. With that a little bit later. And I need the felt tip pens. So I'm going to use the slightly larger one there, and the green and red, because some of these are lights. I'm say that this panel here is signal lights. They're supposed to be green, which means things are okay. You have like one red one, and there is going to be red, just to keep the crew on their toes. The tiny gray touches, I managed to touch that one wrong, so the red got a little out of control. Now these, I don't know what these are supposed to be, but I'm going to highlight them with this pen. Witches or something. But since they're molded in, I'll just make it look like there's something there. This pen is too wide. Teeny one. The little grid pattern up here, it's probably anything. Turned out terrible. So what I'll do is when I get the gray paint out, I want to paint over that. And what I've found before is that it shows the detail a little bit. It basically just changes the color. And I think that'll look okay then. It's not perfect, but it shows the detail. Aiming for. And it's way in the back and you can barely see it, but you can tell there's something there. And it looks like there should be something there. Yeah, there's tiny touches of gray I have to do. Little bits. And I'm going to get that. I'm just going to do that now. And then... Hi. Thanks for joining in. I really appreciate it. I was just doing some just detail on these control panels that are inside the hull as I prepare to eventually install all 4 decks into this section of the submarine. So, making some progress today. It looks like it's coming on adequately. But thank you. Thanks for chatting. And hopefully you'll be able to become a follower and send all of your friends and relatives to come and join in on relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. And what we've got here is Submarine Wednesday, or in military abbreviations, Subwed, which makes no sense at all. Well, it does. Submarine Wednesday. And I'm just doing tiny little detail stuff here. Trying to finish these bits, these control panel bits, so that after break can come back, and some major progress that I'll be doing after break is cementing in the pieces into this deck, so it'll start to look like something, which will be pretty cool. Okay, those 2 things. And then I was going to paint over this because it didn't turn out well. Is the black ink will kind of bleed through and give it a slightly darker gray color. There. So there's the inside of the hull and the detail there. Those will hardly be visible when this thing is put together, but I know they're there, and now I know that they are done. And I need to put this somewhere. Here, I'll put it up here, because we won't be getting back to that for a while. Cover it up. Try to minimize the dust. Kind of. That gets onto it. Oh, Forgot. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. On this deck, there is this control panel here, and it was molded with absolutely no detail on it at all. None. Zero. And so it just looks doofus. So I'm going to see if I can, I hope I don't mess this up. Try to put some white dots on it to make it look like there's like dials. And then maybe I'll put a couple of black dots on it. Turned out okay. It's not bad. Get out the bitty micro pen. Okay, now it looks like there's something. Now it looks like, I'm not sure what. It's totally out of focus. Come on, camera. Anyway, now it looks like a control panel. Oh, you just saw it. Okay, I know it just came out. And Ahsoka is a favorite around here. Favorite character. All of the latest okay. More unusual ones, more than just the typical ones, I bet. But I know that Ahsoka is a big fan favorite in this household. Everybody loves it. Loves her. And we are very much looking forward to seeing the show. So we'll probably do it like on a family TV night of some sort. Okay, I'm carefully scraping this excess paint off the front because this is going to be painted a dark gray because it's part of the cutaway. It's a cutaway model and it's the Hulk color. And if I do this, it's more likely to go on evenly than otherwise. Okay, I need to take a second and review where I am because I've kind of lost track. Take these off and put my seeing things more or less sometimes regular glasses back on. Well, the spaceships are kind of Trekkie. That's interesting. Okay, so just to review where I am on all of this, get this out of the way and try not to break things. So I'm going to move this tray toward me and drop that. And what we've got going here is that this midsection of the submarine has 3 decks on it. There's a bunk room underneath, a gyro room, and a ballast tank. And there's this huge officer's wardroom and a bunk room and a galley. And a galley is kind of cool, I thought. Painted it in 1960s white with red trim kind of colors. I thought that came out okay. Then there's above that is the control room where the command center of the ship is, and officer's wardroom and the head or the bathroom. The messy thing here, and those all fit together. And I am now to the point where I will actually be able to cement in carefully all of the stuff that goes onto this deck except for these tubes. Okay. The show, not the ships. I misunderstood. And these pieces will go on here. I'm going to do them kind of slowly because some of them need to be held in place in order to stay vertical or stay in place. Sometimes they need to go in a specific order, and then I can't remember what order, and then it gets messed up. And sometimes there's a spot. Does that get covered up? I hope it does. Yeah, it does. There was a spot on the floor that should not be showing. Where the paint got scraped a little bit. So I think when I get after break, I am going to start cementing some of this stuff in because it's ready to do that. And after it's cemented in, this is a good time to do it because it really should set for a while. I will then test fit it into the hull because these bulkheads are supposed to fit snugly into the hull but not bulge into it. I would not be surprised if I don't need to scrape it down a little bit because they don't go in quite right. And then these need to be drilled out. So I'll be alternately doing really boring. I mean, I will be boring holes through these tubes so that the periscopes fit all the way in the way they should. While I'm waiting for cement to set so I can move on to the next parts. So there's that. But yeah, I'm going to be taking a short break now, during which time I will be changing the battery on the clock and battery on the smoke detector. Smoke detector stopped beeping, so the battery must be completely dead. Yay. And then I'll be coming back, and most of these parts, like all of these parts here, will be fitting onto this, and then it will look very busy. Like lots of stuff will be going on here. And that will be in anticipation, I'm hoping, of being able to assemble this whole thing next week, maybe even that early. Little bits of paint. They're just everywhere, and if even though they've been sitting around for a week and they're supposedly dry, if they touch something, they stick. They adhere to themselves. Anyway, I'm not sure how this will go. I really hope that I can cement these in without making a mess, because the cement is very aggressive and has a tendency to dissolve stuff and stick to things it shouldn't. But yeah, I'll be very, very carefully applying it, probably through the bottom. I'll be cementing it from the bottom. I don't want to get it on the top because it'll just splitch out. So in some of these like this, what I might even do is like put them in place like that and hold them and apply the cement from underneath like that rather than putting it into the slots. Maybe I'll do that. But I do need to take a break, and I'm going to do that now. I should be back about 12:30. What were you going to be doing on subs? What kind of work were you going to be doing? Because there's lots of things you can do on a submarine, all the way from, cooking to launching torpedoes to tending the reactor, all sorts of things. And then I have to ask, why were you going to be wanting to work on subs? Everything is so cramped and tiny and close. You definitely don't want to be claustrophobic, that's for sure. So before I take a break, I'll just quickly explain. This is Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Oh, okay, I see. That would be really cool, being a marine biologist and being able to do that. My brother at one point talked about becoming a marine biologist. He was actually a pretty avid scuba diver until he blew out his eardrum one time, and that kind of got in the way. But he's thinking about doing it again. Shallow, just down to like 20 feet, maybe 30 at most, as opposed to what he was diving in some sort of quarry down to 70 or 80 feet. That was pretty adventurous. So Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons, most of what we do has been preparing dungeon tiles and minifigs for our D&D stream, which is on Sundays at 3 Sundays a month. But I started working on this submarine a while ago because I didn't have anything else to paint one Wednesday, and now it's become a regular Wednesday fixture, Submarine Wednesday, as I continue working on this. And one of the viewers looked up and saw that the original submarine, the real George Washington, was built in 220 days. And it is turning out that the model submarine is taking much longer than that. But then it's not 200, it's not continuous days. I'm just working on it sometimes 2 days a week. But that's how this started. This is actually a real 1960s vintage Renwall submarine model. The same kind of model I built when I was a kid. And like in seventh or eighth grade or something was the first time I built this. And at that time, I was not doing this kind of detail. I think I didn't paint the walls. I didn't paint the bunks. I didn't paint the chairs. I painted the galley all white. I didn't do any of this control panel stuff. I don't know why I'm doing it now. It just ends up taking that much longer. But I actually ended up buying 3 kits, because when you buy these old kits, they're either started or there's painting or there's parts missing. And I am getting probably 90% of the parts out of one of the kits that was pretty complete and not messed up with really bad gluing. But I have actually borrowed parts from the other 2 kits in order to get this going. This particular control panel, for example, 2 of the 3 were just, there wasn't enough plastic that was injected into the mold, and so this whole section here didn't come out. This is 1960s vintage, very, very badly produced. Was that your first thing, a Chimera? Yeah. Did you enjoy painting the miniatures? I kind of like painting them too. What I found was that let me see. Here's one I painted a while ago. It's like a rust monster. It's supposed to be all rusty. And I used to complain about the detail, like all the little spikes and stuff on here, and detailing the feathers and things. And then doing sort of metallic highlights. I used to complain about that a lot until I started on the submarine. And then it turned out like the smallest features on some of these minifigs are way bigger than the dials and clocks and stuff on the submarine. So I stopped complaining too much. It's still a little. It's always good to complain. But yeah, I stopped complaining too terribly much about the detail on the minifigs because of the detail on the submarine model, which is just sometimes just stupid. I mean, just tiny, tiny stuff. But I do need to take a break because I need to have a snack. Ooh, yeah. That's what it looks like, doesn't it? A cockroach scorpion. Yeah, some of the other, let's see. Yeah, just to give you an idea that it's not all submarines. There's this gigantic demon toad. Came out pretty well. That was fun to do. You know, the tiniest detail, like the nostrils and these little spikes. So it was kind of relaxing to do that. And then there's a whole troop of these dragonkin guys. Red, green, blue, bronze, black, and I made a silver one. And they're all on a team. So even this kind of detail, this edging, turns out to be more relaxing than painting some of the submarine stuff. But yeah, I'm going to take a break. I will be back about 12:30, and at that point, we'll probably start cementing stuff in. I don't see any reason to keep procrastinating about that. And then drilling these guys out, and once these are drilled out, I'll be able to paint these. And next week, I think I'll be able to, actually, really, truly assemble this whole thing, which will be tricky. You know, none of the pieces fit quite right. And so in order for it to get into the hull, they all need to go in basically at one time. And fortunately, they fit tightly enough that they don't really need to be cemented in place, but it just wiggles and wiggles and wiggles until it finally settles. And then once that's done, I'll start working on the missile tubes. But I will be back. See you soon. Half an hour. Well, they're broken. Well, I've had my break. Just a little bit longer than usual. Well, no, a little bit longer than planned, but every time I take a break, it's always a little longer than planned. It just seems to be how things are. Yeah, I've got some holes. I might as well start putting stuff together, I guess. Why not? What could possibly go wrong other than that I will mess up all this work I've done painting, getting cement on everything and making a mess. Let's see how it goes. What I'm looking for, what I'm searching for and not finding, is a little worn out bristleless brush. Oh, good. But I've got some where the bristles are just rotted away. And I'm going to use those to spread the cement because the applicator that I have doesn't work. It had a plug in it for some reason. This is disappointing. New sweater. Well, maybe I'll use a toothpick or something instead. What can I say? I had these brushes that were all worn out. There they are. Yeah, all worn out so that there's like no bristles left on the ends. And I can use those to dip in into the cement and just put tiny little dots of cement in places. I'm hesitant to do this, because who knows what'll happen. But eventually it has to. Eventually these pieces need to go together. This comes with this totally worthless, gigantic brush. I'm using the liquid cement rather than the tube cement. Because the tube cement, I remember, it's young, is horrible. All you end up with are little just strings of cement everywhere. This is going to work. No, it's not. Okay, well, I thought it would, but it's not. Nothing is working. None of the things I am attempting to do are working. Oh, except just a piece of paint that's on there. All right, it's just another one of these things where these little specks of paint that I get from cleaning up get into places, or I don't know. Okay, it's exactly the kind of thing. That's exactly the kind of thing that is a disaster. And it is a disaster. So this was nicely painted. And now I need to fix that before I can do anything else. And I got paint all over the front of this. See, that's what happens with the cement. And somehow I was holding it, and it slipped, and now I've got two things that need to be touched up. So instead of making great progress, what I have done is created an epic fail. A totally great epic fail. Now let's fix things one at a time here. Boxers. That was just amazingly awful. Incomprehensibly bad. Now this will take a while to dry, and it'll look okay. But that was just not good. Definitely a not good thing that happened. I don't know what to say other than I needed a big oops button for that. We talked about that before, about how what I really need is an oops button. Okay, that I can push when something like that happens, and I have an oops, and I needed a big oops button and a little oops button, because sometimes the oops is just a little oops, and sometimes the oops is of epic proportions, and that was a big oops. That was a gigantic, epic proportion oops. Fortunately, this was easy to fix, and that's what shows. The floor is a little bit harder. Get brush marks. You can see where the cement it came up and started dissolving the paint. Just having trouble with the application of the cement. You know, it would be one of the most straightforward, easiest things, and it just wasn't. Okay, well, I'm going to let those dry, and while that's happening, I'll start drilling. Guess I'll start drilling out the torpedo, the tubes for the... Yeah, well, that threw me way off. Okay. Too big. Trying to get the right vise here. This one is it. Okay, well, we can get the dogs going. This is supposed to tighten, yeah, there, and hold the drill in place. Okay, well, I found that was just really disturbing. Okay, that happened, and just as I was starting to do some assembly, the biggest nightmare that can happen during assembly, which is that the cement gets everywhere and messes up the paint. And fortunately, it was just the surface of the paint, and it didn't dissolve the plastic underneath. That was good. But yeah, little plastic crumbles, And those are almost certainly going to make messes. Well, relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons, right? That was not relaxing painting. It was the opposite of relaxing cementing. And, I'm sure you're all looking forward to actually seeing some assembly happen, but it just didn't. And instead, we had the unfortunate occurrence of cement going awry. I don't know how that happened. I was holding the piece and I was holding it on, and it just twisted and just fell over, bringing cement with it, because I was having trouble getting the cement to apply. So I'll try something else after that paint dries, and I need to put some pieces in. I'm going to try applying it into the slots first, and then push the pieces down onto the slot. Well, it's cutting plastic. Is it getting further along? Yeah, it is. This is slow. It's so hot out because it's not the end of summer yet. Yeah, there is like a heat advisory day or something today. I don't know. I'm down in the basement workshop, and it's actually kind of chilly down here. It always is. It's like a cave, right? I mean, it is like a cave. Basements are like that. This is making a huge mess. I'm going to be spending a good deal of time probably cleaning up all these plastic particles, because this is exactly the kind of stuff that gets stuck in wet paint and in cement. So if it wasn't for that disaster, and it was an OO of disastrous proportions, if it wasn't for that, I'd probably have 2/3 of that one of those really high humidity days, right? Where you feel like you're swimming, you can't sweat because the air is so humid. Okay. So what we're having is, I don't know if you saw it, but I started to do some assembly, and I got the first piece in, and I started to apply cement, and it wasn't working. And then I tried something else, and it looked like it wasn't working. And then the piece slipped and got cement all over the place and dissolved paint, and it was the application of cement nightmare. And it was the thing that's just the worst. So, yeah, I'm waiting for the paint to dry, where I had to repaint things. And while I'm doing that, I am taking the time to bore out the hole for the periscope and radar antenna. And once these are done, I'll probably go ahead and paint them, at least the first coat of the paint, just to get that done. And then I'll try cementing again. It'd be really nice to have those pieces mostly cemented in, so that next week I can actually start doing like real assembly, putting everything into the submarine, which would be kind of a unique thing. This one's almost done. At least the drill's working. Got that. Seeing all sorts of excitement upstairs. So during break, I thought I was going to replace batteries, but I didn't get to it. I found the battery for the clock, but I couldn't find a 9-volt battery for the smoke detector. So there's a shopping opportunity now. It felt like it was almost through, but it's like this last little bit just isn't happening. It would be okay to leave the last little bit. Because you know what's going to happen is that, cement will get up inside the base of the tube, stick to the bottom of the periscope, and the whole thing will be welded together at the very end instead of, Actually, what I might do is put a tiny little, I'm going to use contact cement, I think, on this instead of the plastic cement because they have to move around to get adjusted. And that gives me some motion without making too much of a mess. I don't know why that last bit just isn't clearing out. Want is to catch it just as the drill tip starts to emerge. That's what I really want to do. I wonder if it's possible to pull that off. We'll find out. Yeah, paint is drying. I'm watching paint dry, and that's working. Well, so working on the submarine, and things were going really well, and I was about ready to assemble, and I started to assemble, and I couldn't get the cement to go where I wanted it to, and then the part that I was working on slipped, and just made a hideous mess, and just created, it was just really unpleasant. Fortunately, I was able to touch it up in a way that I don't think will show, but it does not bode well for the rest of the assembly. This is like a bag of holding? Is that what's going on here? Is that we have like infinite plastic on the bottom, the last 1/16 of an inch? Or is it like Zeno's paradox? Maybe it's like that I can only go halfway, and then halfway, and then halfway. And it's only halfway, so it never ever really gets done. There we go. It has emerged from to clean it out. And there's only 2 more of these to do while I talk about what a disaster it was. Trying to cement something, This is like a hideous mess. We gotta clean that before we paint it. Here's another one. So you can see if I measure it, there's that much, like a 1/4 of an inch that needs to be drilled out. Well, let's talk about construction schedules. So who reports that the internet says, or Wikipedia maybe, that the submarine was constructed in 220 days? And the box top actually says that it, or the instruction manual that talks about the submarine says that it was completed ahead of schedule. So there's the question of, whether it was actually operational or whether it was just sort of floating after 220 days. Because I'm sure that it probably took a long time to shake this thing out. It wasn't the first nuclear-powered submarine. What was the name of that? I think they actually named it the Nautilus. I'm not sure. I remember it was a big deal because it was a nuclear-powered sub, so it could go for a long, long time underwater. It didn't have to come back up, right? For air or to recharge its batteries. And the big deal about that submarine is that it went to the North Pole. Because the Arctic Ocean is an ocean and the ice doesn't go to the bottom, so the submarine was able to sail under the ice to the North Pole. That was a big deal for the nuclear submarine. And then this was a pretty early one. Oh, hi, Kitas. I played Baldur's Gate a long, long time ago when it first came out, which was in the 90s? But I haven't played it. I only played it the first one, and I haven't played it since. But I know that Nicole and Alexis have played it. Anyway, it was one of the better games back then when it first came out. I heard that. Nicole and Alexis were talking about it. It's like more of an open world kind of thing. I'm not sure what I know that they were raving about it, but I didn't know too much about what was actually happening. Really neat. So, yeah, I remember that. I remember that about the first one. It's a kind of a vague memory because it was ages ago. Yeah, for that kind of game, it had a really good storyline, which wasn't always the case. Yeah, the Nicole and Alexis half. I've been away so much the last month that other than keeping up with taking out the garbage, and occasionally eating and doing the dishes and packing and unpacking and packing and unpacking and doing laundry and putting laundry away. Yeah, it's just been a time. I mean, the travel's all good and things, especially seeing our new grandkid in Germany. But boy, at some point you get kind of tired of jet lag and trying to sleep in different places, and just traveling is exhausting, especially international travel. U.S. Customs really sucks. Oh, you get to play different. Okay, that's really neat. You get to play different characters. Hi, Ophala. Yeah, I'll do a flip. I mean, why not? Since nothing else is going right, how can I mess up a flip? Probably flip it into something and break something else. But I'll do it after I drill this one out, because I'm almost done with it. I'm down to the part where it feels like it's going forever and not getting anywhere. I just have one more to do, and then I'll clean them up and paint them. And then I'll try cementing stuff again. Hopefully with a little bit less, I'm not even going to say with more success, because there was like minus success on that last one. But hopefully with a little less disaster. So I really don't know what happened. I was finally getting the cement on, and then the whole piece just got knocked over. I might try that. So instead of playing solitaire, in the few minutes that I've got in between doing stuff. I think Nicole and Alexis they play together, I think. It's last millimeter. Get a blister from this in the palm of my hand. Okay, well, according to this measurement, it should be out, but according to reality, it's not. The very, very end of this plug must be some sort of super hard plastic. Where'd that come from? Okay. Yeah, very good. There. Okay, so 2 out of 3 done. Huge mess made. All sorts of little plastic particles that are going to get into and onto everything. Today is a day. Flip. I'm doing a follow flip. I got the one with the dot on one side. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Where this black is coming from. Blue. I'm going to go ahead and drill this out. I'm going to put this now useless contaminated paper towel down and this, at least for the last one, maybe it'll be better to catch some bits of plastic, the plastic dust. Doing here as I'm doing this is trying to think about how I'm going to cement this stuff in without making a mess of it. Cleaning these out. It's just going to be a problem later. I'm not making the hole any bigger, cleaning out the plastic particles. Otherwise, they'll just push down to the bottom and get in the way. Oh, back to drilling this one out. Yeah, it's really, it's really disappointing. You go through all the trouble of painting on a detail and all this sort of stuff, and then the final bit is just throwing some cement on a slot and putting a tab into it, and that's the part that gets messed up. When I bought this liquid cement, because I had this one with an applicator. These applicators are supposed to be like pinpoint applicators, right? And they're not. What you end up with is this thing had this blue plug in it. Now you can't see it, but I had to cut it all the way down, and then there's this plug on the inside. I'm not sure how that got there or why, but it's the kind of plastic that melts in the cement, and keeps it from flowing out. So I've got this whole thing full of cement, and I can't use it. I mean, not the way it is anyway. So that was a real disappointment, because that applicator really works pretty well. It puts out tiny little drops. So I got this, and it said that it had a micro brush, which I assumed would be like that, a real tiny pointed brush, but no. It's a gigantic set of bristles that are not accurate at all. Well, this is taking a good long time to do. At least long enough to let the paint dry. Yeah, it's almost dry, so by the time I'm done with this, I can try again. Again, to start assembling things onto the floor of the control room. And it's all these pieces here. All those go on there, so there's that. And maybe I'll put the gyro in the gyro room. Maybe I can pull that off without breaking anything. But these things, having to drill these out is just another example of stuff that doesn't fit. There's a little warning that says, fit and trim your pieces if necessary. And I think it's like 90% necessary. What would have been good today, but wasn't because of the mess up with the cement, was to have gotten those things in. Thank you. Cemented on, and I could have filled in the bottom, and that would have dried, and I could sand it next time. So I think what's going to end up happening is that the assembly is going to actually be 2 weeks out because just the timing got screwed up because of the mess, the disaster with the cementing. And what I'll be doing instead, if I don't finish the assembly today, is the beginning of the stream next week is I'll finish assembling all these pieces onto the base, and then I'm going to start rummaging through the box for the parts that go into the next section, which is the missile tube section. And I'll be finding those pieces and test fitting them. I haven't done a rummaging through the box for pieces in a while, so I'll be test fitting those. And then when the cement is dry, I'll put the filler in on the bottom of that. And then the week after that, I'll be able to sand it down and paint it and get the assembly done. So what might be happening is that instead of getting this whole section done and then moving on, is I'll be moving on before this section is done. It's just the way it looks like it's going to be happening, because largely because of what happened right after break with the application, the failed application of the model cement. Throw everything off by a whole week. Those kinds of things happen, right? It's like cost overruns. That's the cost overrun du jour. These are getting done. Next thing is I'll try to cement something again. I mean, I'd like to show some assembly, and then about like 1:45, depending on the time this actually gets finished. What I'll do is paint these. I should be able to do that without too much of a disaster. I just need to stick them onto toothpicks, find the right color, and get a coat on. There we go. Starting to poke out the bottom. All right. So try to do some cleanup here. These little plastic bits are clingy because of static. Okay. Something has arrived or whatever. Got the dogs all excited. The smoke detector stopped beeping. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. It's stopped being annoying, but that might mean that the battery is completely dead. Oh, good. I'm getting hand cramps. That's kind of a traditional thing to do on this stream, too, is to get a hand cramp. Yeah, okay. These 3 toothpicks are to hold those. And I'm going to do this one. This is the gyro room. There's this gigantic spinning gyroscope inside of this thing. And it goes down on the bottom of the submarine. Rotate it so that it best face forward here. Okay. Let's try this. I'm going to hold this in place like this. Put a little cement on there. Make sure it's vertical. There is success. I have done an assembly of some sort without having a disaster. Okay, so that's it. That's the whole gyro room. I don't know. I guess I'm going to try this again. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to put my hands quick. Right, my hands are shaking. Probably. Put a little cement in the slot. Here's what I'm going to do. That there's cement in the slot. And set this piece into place. See? That's exactly the kind of thing that ends up causing the disaster. Lean forward, basically so that it's set to the floor like that. I'm assuming that it's cemented in. I don't know. It's supposed to be applying cement. Knock that over. What are the odds, right? Like 90%. Get this one in here. Look, things are being assembled. Yay. No, it's sticking, so that's good. Get this little one in here. Okay. Look at that. Look, it looks like a submarine control room. It's actually coming together. Pieces are going in. Okay, this next section, there's just so many weird little things here. The bulkheads and the bunks. And I tried a couple of different ways of doing this. Do it this way. I'm going to put this bulkhead in first. Okay. And then the bunks. And then the other bulkhead. And then they need to be kind of held together. And it was the squeak from the smoke detector. So we know that the battery is still this bulkhead here, and then I'm going to hold these pieces together for a bit. They all need to kind of line up. And it wasn't squeaking in now for a while, and now it is. Okay, so this goes here. Like this. And it needs to be held in place. It's the way that it's the way all these things hold themselves together. So there's a little, this piece here will end up going here. Okay, that'll fit on. But I want to let these set a bit first. Because it's important that they stay in place. So I'm going to hold these for the requisite 60 seconds or so. Just to make sure. Oh, it's a smoke detector. The battery's gone. But we don't have any 9-volt ones around. Someone was checking to see why was I squeaking. Is this, unearthly sort of squealing sound? Why was I making that noise? Well, it wasn't me. Oh, I lost track. So I'll start counting again. You can't hold it too long. That couldn't be the problem. Is it 127? I put my seeing things glasses on here and see if I can see things. Oh, okay, it's not quite 1:30 yet, so I am going to be able to get this assembled. Everything except the tubes for the periscopes. Looks like I'm going to be able to do that. I'm going to do this little bulkhead thing next. And then the lockers, because the lockers are a pain. They just are. And then the chairs, there's a bunch of tiny little next to invisible chairs that get in. And those are going to have to be like tweezered in. So this is the thing I was talking about. You can see there's a gap in between the two walls there. I'm thinking I will, when I get the plastic putty out, maybe I'll just use paint. I might just use paint because it's viscous enough to fill that in. Remember how these go now. Pretty sure this one goes here. Chair goes in there, and I'm just going to use tweezers to put the chair in later. So I think I'm ready to, this is holding. It seems to be holding in place pretty well. These seem to be holding. But these are in place. I just have the chairs. Figure out how to get the chairs in. Oh, that's annoying. The smoke alarm. Know that it's beeping again. Okay, I just need to put everything else where it forward pushes this. These line up with the bunks here. Oh, well, that was... Forgot about the sink. In there, on top of that thing, there is a sink. That's going to have to go on with tweezers, too. Okay, these things are just... I want them to be vertical. Otherwise, it looks like they're falling over. So I'm looking at it from the side here. This is where they need to be, and then I want to not be touching it for a little while until the cement sets. Yeah, it's on the side, trying to make sure that those look vertical. Oh, my locker's tilted. Do it by eye because I could get a calipers in there probably, but I don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this while I can. This is the sink, and I need to put just a little drop of cement on that. And then get a tweezers, and I should have done this way early on. Oh, I know that's going to fall. So you want the basins toward the front, right? Is slide it onto, right, there we go. Let's get it in there and then make the adjustments. The cement onto the thing it attaches to. This isn't working that well. Hopefully there's some on there. And then get that onto it close to where it needs to be. Yeah. Working. And cement on it. Pull this again. I do not understand why I'm having so much trouble with this. Okay, now there's cement. I'm going to cap this up and then try to place it in place again. This should have been like the first thing I put on. I got a little dirt there. Is it still not sticky? Mm-mm. This has to come out. And this other one is vertical. Okay, and we'll just keep, I'm going to keep at this. I need to get cement on there. Don't want to put cement on the bottom of the sink because I keep dropping it. And every time it drops, there's a chance it could make a mess on the other floor. You don't really need to be dealing with that. And there's a lot of cement on there. And hopefully the bottom of the sink will just do its thing and dissolve onto it. Get it on this way. Back into that little slot on the bulkhead. I don't move too much. That was an example of things going kind of backward. So now I need to reinsert this one. This set of lockers. This is getting really close to stop messing with it time. Forward. A little bit more cement. Those little bunks here. Bit. Yeah, I'm not going to put the chairs in. I want this stuff to settle. And then I need to be dealing with little bits of tweezers and stuff like that that are going to be a pain. Let this set. And then I'm going to... The control panels are nicely staying in place. The bulkheads, okay. Okay, the sink is set. And I'll check their verticality again in a little bit, but I'm going to set this aside for the moment, make sure that's capped up. And I'm going to paint the periscope tubes. And they'll do that. These toothpicks fit in there nicely. They're upside down, but, you know, that's how the holes are. Paint them off. Toothpicks will just set in there. Put the cement aside. This is the periscope one because it's got little periscope control things and those I'll be touching those up with the black felt tip pen. Okay. Get this out of here, this out of here, this out of here. I'm going to want a brush with fairly big bristles. Because I want the paint to go on smoothly without too many brush marks. This one looks good. And I need the bone white. Okay. It almost feels like something got accomplished. It was not without a struggle, of course. How could anything be? Helps to put things away, kind of, more or less. As I use things, they just sort of pile up here on the workbench. Okay, so this has been relaxing, painting, gluing, assembling, having a disaster, recovering from the disaster, running into a problem with assembly order that I should have paid attention to because I knew that sink had to go on first and then I didn't do it. Fortunately, there was an insufficient amount of cement on that one locker anyway. I guess that was a good thing that it wasn't done right. Dice and Dungeons is a group of family and friends that started playing Dungeons and Dragons over a year ago. Well, actually for a very long time. But the campaign that we're on started over a year ago. And it is an excellent campaign in a world, imaginative and complex world created by our dungeon mistress, Alexis. And everybody who watches this, either on stream or on YouTube later, is invited to join us on 3 Sundays a month at 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, or you can catch the episodes later on YouTube or as a podcast. It's just a lot of fun. It's a really good campaign. It's all pretty much appropriate for any age. Okay, just so you know that. Our characters are clever, hardly ever die. They haven't actually died yet. They've come close to dying. They've come close to dying in some of the most stupid ways imaginable. Not having to do with combat, but just, doing dumb things. Occasionally we do retail shopping. We get into a magic shop. That's always a lot of fun. You never know what you could find in the discount bin. So the D&D campaign is ongoing and will continue for a long time. Catch previous episodes on YouTube or as a podcast so you can catch up with what's going on with the characters. It's a good thing to do. This will require a second coat, obviously, but we'll save that for next week. And this stream started because we got more and more elaborate in our D&D stream in terms of playing surface. So we started producing dungeon tiles, 3D printers that you see behind me. And when we get into combat or sometimes other things, we're able to build very nice sets. And so this painting stream started because we were painting our dungeon tiles for the stream, for the D&D stream. And somebody decided that, well, why not? People love to watch people paint things and watch paint dry, and it was why. But so still most of the time this is painting dungeon tiles and minifigs for the D&D campaign. But one day I didn't have any, and so I pulled out some old models, and that's how Submarine Wednesday started, is that ages ago I pulled out these 1960s vintage Renwell cutaway submarine models because I bought 3 of them, so I have enough parts to make one, and that has turned out to be necessary because I've used parts from all 3 kits for what I've been doing so far. And now we have Submarine Wednesday, and that's what happens here. But on Mondays and Fridays, I will probably be painting some sort of minifigs. It looks like I've got some, some sort of nasty looking creature here, a bird-like. Yeah, that'll be interesting and fun. It's holding a little bit of a spear-like weapon. I'm not sure how this will look. Does it come on? Yeah, okay. That's good, because then I can hold it in different ways. There's multiple wings, all sorts of feather detail. So I'll probably be working on this on Friday. But relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons, most of the time, although it's been a little uncertain this summer because of travel and other chores and stuff that needs to be done, is Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I don't know. What do you think, Who? Should I paint this on Friday or should I do more submarine? I'll leave it up to the votes of those who are watching. Chat, and that might just be you. You might be able to make a unilateral decision about what happens on Friday, because I'm happy doing either one. Well, actually, I'm not happy about doing any of them. I'm getting to be unhappy about doing any of this, because okay, so it'll be a monster of this, whatever it is. And it's not going to be pink. I'm not sure what colors it will be. It looks like, sort of vicious. It's almost like I should do it like pearlescent black. Don't you think, blacks and grays? Because I did a pink thing already. Maybe I'll put some little pink highlights on it or something. Anyway, I need to prime it. I've got this. Here's another monster. Some sort of like bug monster thing. I don't really like this. I think I'll do the bird. And then there's this. It's looks like a Valkyrie. No, the Valkyrie might be okay. Valkyrie is missing a hand. Not sure what's up with that. And then sitting here on the side is, oh, I see. This might have come off. No, I can't do this unless I know how it's supposed to all fit together. But it looks like maybe it would go like that. I'm not sure. So, in the absence of knowing how that's supposed to go, that's going to just be set aside. I'm going to clean these up. There's little bits of sprue and stuff from the printing process that I'll clean up and get those off, and I'll prime it, and I'll work on this bird-like thing on Friday. But for now, let's summarize the amazing accomplishments of Sub Wednesday. Okay. These got drilled out and first coat painted. There's a second coat on the way. And let me show you the box of stuff here. Assembly. Look at this. That's how you'll be viewing it, right from the side like that. See? That's how it will be. And you're just making sure that all of these parts are like fitting together, that the lockers are standing up vertically. Yeah, I need to put the chairs in. There's 3 itty-bitty chairs and then 3 larger chairs. The 3 larger chairs are for that control panel there. Those will be, tweezer mounted kinds of things. And I'm going to probably fill in the gap there, just so it doesn't look like there's a gap in the wall. We'll probably put a little plastic putty in there, tiny little bit, and just to run it up the seam and then paint over it. Yeah, I know. When I'm just painting things, like painting the dials on the control panels and stuff, it doesn't look like I'm making progress. But finally, when things are cemented into place, then it does. Now it looks like something has happened. You won't see it ever again from these angles. You'll only be able to see it from that angle, just like that. Okay, but you can see it that way. There it is. and it doesn't look awful. Yeah, it looks okay. I didn't mess up any of the parts after the first mess up, once I got them in. The lockers look vertical. The bulkheads seem to be in place. So, yeah, what needs to be done on this is the chairs and filling that gap in. And then underneath here, after this sets, I'm filling in all these spaces under here and sanding down the bottom and painting it this light blue color, because this becomes the ceiling of that. They fit together like that. Okay. So you can see how that comes together. And then that whole assembly slides into the hull of the submarine. You need to have little mini lights in the ceiling, I think, is what really is necessary, so that it lights things up. You almost have to have a flashlight to see into this. And then these bunks over here go underneath this deck. And the gyro room goes under here. So this is leave it alone, let the cement set, don't touch it, come back, fill in the crack, put the chairs in, and then give these tubes a couple of coats. And then it might be getting really close to be ready for assembly, which would be really pretty amazing to move on. So thank you for joining Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Progress has been made. Visible progress has been made, yay. And I'm going to cover these up so they don't get all covered with dust and dirt. They're going to anyway, but, maybe less. And I will be back on Friday, more or less at 10 until more or less at 2, to be painting some sort of bird-like monstrous minifig. This thing. Colors. Be painting it colors. And hopefully making it look good. We'll find out. We'll see. Can't promise, but we're going to try. So, thanks everybody. See you on Friday at more or less 10. And hopefully also on Sunday at 2. For the stream of the Dungeons & Dragons campaign. Bye.